Thanks for coming, everybody. The gentleman here to my right, Chris Bleck, producer at ESPN Radio, also instructor here. Nick Friedell, Bulls reporter for ESPN Chicago and ESPN Radio. And Jonathan Hood, host of Chicago's Game Night and many Bulls programming things. And also instructor here at ESPN, or at Illinois Center for Broadcasting. Today we're going to talk a little bit about sports, not like Nick's thoughts on the Bulls. Those will be later. When we're done, you guys can corner him somewhere. Talk to him about that. We're going to talk about the business side. But first, these guys can introduce themselves, and which I already did, and tell us how they got to sitting here in front of you today. Chris?
I'm a producer, like Adam said, at ESPN 1000. When I graduated from school, I started working at a suburban station by my home, which allowed me to stay in radio. And then when an opportunity opened at ESPN, I jumped on it. I've been there since 2007, and I've been a producer for Jonathan and Nick and producing with Adam ever since. Adam and I also host a lowly rated podcast on ESPNChicago.com and have a show together. So that's my story. Nick.
Hi, guys. I'm Nick. I cover the Bulls for ESPN Chicago. I graduated from Syracuse in 2006. When I went there, the only thing I wanted to do was be the Cubs play-by-play guy. I took a play-by-play class at school and hated it. And so I started writing more and started doing more radio on the side. And when I got out of school, I couldn't find a job, a full-time job, for the life of me. So I freelanced for a couple of years. I did some work at the local radio station at home, but I was at home for 3 years. How I ended up here was I had emailed a friend of a friend of a friend, and as we'll get into over the next couple hours, there's no shortage of people that you have the ability to meet here and in this city, but meet everyone you possibly can. It's like playing connect the dots, trying to find that first job. But this friend of a friend of a friend ran ESPN Radio in Bristol. And after the first Giants-Patriots Super Bowl, probably about 6 years ago now, I sent him an email. I said, you guys should create city-specific websites. And I said Chicago, Boston, LA, New York, and tie those into the radio stations and hire writers like myself to cover those city sports. And the guy would always respond, but it would be like 2 weeks later, be like, hang in there, Nick. Like, maybe you'll find a job one of these days. Like, you're on our radar. The next day after I send that, he says, you got some great ideas here, some we thought of, some we haven't. Stayed in touch with him for a year. The website finally went up. I flew out here. I interviewed. I started writing once the site went up, but one of the questions in that first interview was, what sets you apart? And I sent them the email that I had sent this guy 3-4 years before that. So just stay on it, hang with it, and like we're all going to tell you here, it's all about perseverance. If you want to work in this industry, if you want it bad enough, you will get an opportunity. You just have to take advantage of it. But I've been working at the site and at the radio station since the site went up in April of '09, and I enjoy every day of it.
Glad you guys are able to come out today to see us, and we'll hope to get a chance. Some faces I know in the room, and some I want to get to know. I'm an instructor here at ICB Chicago and also at the Lombard campus as well. I have been broadcasting for 21 years as mostly in sports talk. When I first started, I was a DJ doing music, and I thought, well, I was doing that for a couple of years. I said, I'm just not talking enough. I want to get into talk. And now, after 20 years, I wish I was going back to DJing so I had to talk so much. But I really enjoy what I do as a talk show host. The one thing that this business will always throw you is curveballs. Like, you're looking for the fastball, right over the middle so you can be able to hit it. And sometimes this business will give you curveballs. I went in 1994 to the Score as a part-time producer, then full-time, then getting my own show in 2000. After 2005, my contract wasn't renewed at the Score, so I spent 13 years at the Score doing everything from being a part-time engineer to producer to host. So I did a lot of things because you always say yes in the business. You always, especially when you first get into it, you always say yes. Whatever I could do to be able to elevate myself, or this is what I want you to do for you, elevate yourself by saying yes. Keep moving up until you get to where you really want to be. After August of 2005, 2 weeks later, I went from the score to ESPN, something that's usually not happening, where someone lets you go and then 2 weeks later you jump into another job. That's what happened with me. So I went basically from one side of the street to the other and started becoming a talk show host at ESPN 1000. When I say about curveballs, that life throws you curveballs sometimes, at ESPN I've never done more programming or different type of shows than I ever had in my career at ESPN. They asked me to do a mixed martial arts show. And I said, I don't know anything about mixed martial arts. And they said, no, you're going to do this show because we need you. I know the choice. You got to do it. So I said, okay. So here I go at MMA Tonight, being the host of that. And so, you're going to be our baseball guy. You got to be able to talk baseball, Cubs and Sox 2 hours a night. Said, okay, I could do that. It's like, you're going to do that. And you're going to, okay, now I need you to sit in because we need someone quickly to do a NASCAR show. And so said, I don't know anything about NASCAR. Yeah, we really need you to do it. You're going to do that. Said, okay, so I need to know about NASCAR quickly in order for me to be able to help the station. So you always say yes. So whatever you think is so easy and think that you can just go day by day, when the curveball comes, you got to be able to hit it. That's kind of what the business is. And so being at ESPN, I've done a lot of different things. And again, I've been there since '05, having a lot of fun. When you do this for a long time, the passion never leaves because it's what you've always wanted to do. You're always looking for the next challenge, sure, but when you have a passion to be able to entertain, because that's what we all are. We're entertainers, all of us. Everybody in the room is an entertainer one way or the other, whether you produce it, whether you host it, TV or radio, we're entertainers. So the bug to entertain, to be able to inform and entertain, never leaves me. And I hope that as you're able to go through the process at ICB, internship and into a job, that never leaves you, that passion, because you're here for a reason. So the hope is that never leaves you. All right. Let's talk about the Bulls. Let's say 7 o'clock. We're talking about Joe Girardi, right? We're talking about him and how the Cubs were scorned, where they weren't getting their guys who had to go to a second and third level choice for a manager. So at some point we'll talk about the Bulls. So I'll write on or I'll type in Bulls. That will be a topic maybe at 8 o'clock. Okay. What's the number one thing everyone's talking about with the Bulls? Derrick Rose coming back. Okay. Rose returning. What else? The minutes that he's playing. Okay. Give me something else. Talk back to me. Tibbs' relationship with the front office. Tibbs. What else? Joakim's shoes. Okay, one at a time. I'm not that fast. Give it to me. One.
Tips overworking the players.
Okay. Thibodeau and the minutes played with the players. Okay. What else? Give it to me. Luol Deng's contract. Okay. What else? Okay. Okay. What else? Jimmy Butler's development. Very good. Butler as a starting two guard for the first time this year, right? What else? What else Bulls related can I talk about?
How they'll try to take down the Heat. There it is. Someone said it. Someone heard me say it.
Sir? Okay, that's overall. What else? Rose chemistry coming back to the players. Okay. What else? Did somebody mention Luol Deng's contract?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's why I asked you to talk back to me. What else? Yes.
If and when they plan on bringing Mirotić over
Okay.
Europe.
Not relevant to this year, but okay. What else? Anything else? Okay, there's Carlos Boozer's a starter on this team. Kirk Heinrich's on this team as a bench guy. Okay, I'll help you out. We'll add and just put in bench mob as a whole. Okay? What were one of the keys to the Bulls? What was one of the keys to the Bulls going as far as they did last year without Derrick Rose? Okay, bench, right? That's why that's a topic. Okay? So you know what we just did here? We just stacked topics. We have a topic, but we have all these subtopics. That's what we do as in the sports radio business.
If you really want to work at ESPN, if you really want to intern at the Score, if you want to intern at a music station, well, go down there. Find out who the program director is, who the head person of the internship program is. Get on the internet, email one of us or somebody at a different station if that's where you want to go and say, who do I have to talk to get an internship here? Go meet them, go introduce yourself, because it's a lot harder to say no to somebody when you put a name and a face to them. It's just in my personal experience. So again, go after it. I mean, if you want it, there's nothing stopping you really. Just take advantage of the opportunity of being in a big city and being in this environment.
And the one thing I always tell students is that you listen more than you talk. If you listen more than you talk, you can be able to learn a lot. This whole thing where you're in a generation where you think that you know everything based on a little information or what you think you have on top of your head, you think you know and you don't. You really don't. But if you listen, you could be able to learn a lot about this business. This preconceived notion that you might have about the business is this way, the business is that way. If you're not listening and learning from people that's been in it, or just trying to figure out what's going on in certain stations or what's happening outside of where you live, then you'll always only know a little bit. But listening is the most important thing.
Nick mentioned new ways of getting into the business. Where do you see the sports broadcasting business in like 5 years from now? What new things that we don't have now? Because I know ESPN just added reporters for every team is something like they've never had for football teams. And do you think that it's just going to get bigger, or are we going to go the way of like ESPN Dallas where stuff's shutting down? It's a loaded question. I know what the answer's going to be.
You got something?
The biggest thing I could tell y'all, whether it's sports, entertainment, movies, whatever your passion is, the radio stuff is great. You can find a way in that way. But if you all have the ability to write, and whether it's for a blog, a magazine, a website, on your own, if you have the ability to write, it will help you open more doors early on in your career. There's no question. ESPN has proven that over and over and over, that they've gotten to a point now where they're hiring writers in every city. It started with the NFL this past year. Got a writer in every city covering that team. They've got writers all over that are covering certain sports or certain teams or certain leagues. And then on top of that, they're doing radio, they're doing more television, they're doing certain things. And it wasn't a skill that I thought that I would need to use early on, especially when I was where you guys are at in school. I mean, I was a broadcast major like y'all were. I was wanted to do radio, TV, that kind of stuff. I started writing more for the newspaper when I was in school and just went from there. But I'd say the biggest key in how things are changing for the sports broadcasting industry as a whole is it's almost writing based, and then everything else is on top of that.
So that's, I mean, yeah, when I first started, it wasn't the best, but it's great now. That's why we said it's a passion. You know, like you have to really, really want this. That's why when Jonathan said, you know, the hard workers, that the people that just show up for their internship from, 10 to 6 or whatever it is, and just leave and that's it, that's not what this is about. This isn't just a job, okay? If you want just a job, then, you don't need to come here for just a job. This is a career. This is like a passion. This is so you, when you wake up and go to work every day, you don't hate your job every day. Who did I see this weekend? I saw a comedian this weekend, and he said, I don't understand why people always the thank God it's Friday people. Because all those people that are thank God it's Friday people hate 5/7 of their life, okay? They hate 5 days out of their life and don't like and just try to get to the weekends. That's why we're here, is to not do that. Like, I love going to ESPN and doing a night show.
It's everybody. Everybody should do that. Here at ICB, and Bill, I think you should write this down because I'll forget it tomorrow. That should be part of the curriculum, the part of teasing. And it's not only just TV, not only just radio, TV does it too. They'll say something for you to be able to hold on to. Now, Greenberg, you mentioned him. Greenberg is a artist with it.
You have to adapt. In any, I don't care if it's sports, I don't care what you guys end up into. You've got to adapt and be able to, if they say, okay, it's like Hoodie said, I don't know anything about the MMA. Well, you're going to cover the MMA, or you're going to go do an MMA show. Okay, well, you figure it out, because that's where your paycheck comes from. So, yeah, I got sent to a few different places. Everybody went, aren't you the Bulls guy? And I was like,
They basically had a dartboard in the back, and I'm like, where can we send Nick today? Northwestern. All right, have fun.